Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Ellen Quaadgras, pronouns she, her, and I am serving South Church in co-ministry with Kirsten Hunter, who happens to be on sabbatical at the moment, and serving in shared ministry with all of you. Welcome to this place where we share in a greater vision and create a sanctuary of greater care, where we honor who you are, what you bring, and what weighs you down, and together build a community of support that helps us heal our spirit and inspires us to help heal the world, even if we have no idea just exactly how to do that right now. Welcome to everyone online. Welcome to all of you in the sanctuary. Our theme this month is trust, and our topic today is the 60th anniversary of the March in Selma, a crucial moment in the civil rights movement that still holds insight and inspiration for us today. I'm grateful to be here this morning with Willow Young, our worship associate. Carlo Nittoli and Carrie Karnan will offer a few words about being a pastoral associate. Jonny Peiffer and Susan Adams will be offering music along with Jen Leyden. Ben Abbott is making our service available to those of you at home. And Jen D.B. and Julia McGeorge will be offering our Time for All Ages, after which our youngest are invited to head downstairs for religious education. If you don't have a decathlon card yet, they are downstairs next to the decathlon bulletin board. On them are some simple ideas that can enrich your spiritual life through personal practices, relationship building, and ways to live your purpose in the world. These are three aspects of spiritual development that can help you lead a richer, fuller, and more satisfying life, no matter what is happening around you. And if you set a specific intention to practice trust this month and you do it, yes, there is a gold star available for you downstairs. And after worship today, yay, I thought I heard a yay. After worship today, all are invited downstairs for coffee hour, where there will be treats and people to talk with. And here's a question you could consider discussing with one another, but particularly with someone you do not know well. When is the right time to start wearing shorts outside? Does the temperature matter? Is it just a calendar thing? If you are 10, is it mandatory to wear shorts always? If you have a conviction, should you try to convince family members who see it differently? I don't know, you guys can talk about it with one another. There are large print hymnals and listening devices available in the back. And as we begin, we name each week that we gather on the ancestral lands of the Pennacook and Abenaki peoples who lived in deep relationship with this place. Their survival depended on trust in the earth's gifts, in their communities, and in the wisdom passed down through generations. As we reflect on trust today, may we honor their legacy by fostering trust in one another and in our shared responsibilities. May our presence here be rooted in respect and gratitude and a commitment to taking action for justice. Please silence your cell phone if you have one, and we now make time for some announcements.
That's okay.
Christine's card is downstairs. If you haven't signed it yet, make sure you do that. She watches our live streams, so I'm yelling at you.
But now I'll give you some regular announcements. There's a lot of them today, so I'm going to go through them real quickly and then hand this over to a couple of other folks. Wednesday morning from 8:30 to 9, you are invited to join Reverend Ellen on Zoom for some readings, some reflections, and then calling senators together to express your views on some upcoming issues. Seasoned advocates and newbies alike are welcome. If you would like to join, go ahead and email Reverend Ellen. She will get you that information. Next Sunday, you are invited downstairs after worship to join the Social Justice Associates to learn more about the 5 Calls app to call your local senators. So that will be downstairs in the Carson Parlor. Next Sunday at 2 o'clock, we have the Steinway concert to celebrate our brand new beautiful piano. If you are a congregant and you play the piano, you should reach out to Jonny. We'd be more than happy to have you play a tune. On the 29th, we've got Coffee House downstairs. If you are interested in telling some jokes, singing some songs, doing some juggling, some acrobatics, whatever your hidden talent is, contact Mary Bannock. And on April 10th, the South Church Shower Program is partnering with Safe Harbor Recovery to offer Narcan training. If that's something you are interested in, you can email me and I will get you on the list and send you all that information. And Tom and Jen are going to give you some announcements as well.
Hello, South Church. I am here to announce that the South Church Retreat on Star Island registration is open. This year's theme is Connection, and we will run the program for 4 days and 3 nights from Sunday, July 13th through Wednesday, July 16th. And new this year, we're kind of partnering with another UU conference that's on the island, a really great conference named Building Bridges. They are explicitly multi-gen, and with them, there is free childcare this year from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. each program day, and again from 1 to 2:30. So we're looking for some younger families to join us on the island. So there are many types of financial grants, scholarships, and discounts. The financial aid deadline is coming up on April 15th, remember, tax day. And if you are interested, you may consider registering soon. Joe McEachern, the registrar, shared with me that we are about halfway with 34 registrants, and we have about 70 to 80 spots available total. The link to register is in your order of service, or you can find me after at social hour. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
And I just want to lift up 3 awesome opportunities that are happening next weekend. One, next Sunday after worship at 11:30 is the next support group for parents of trans or non-binary children, youth, and adults. So if you have a child, a teen, a young adult who is trans or non-binary, you are welcome to join us for a time of connection and support. And if you know parents outside of this congregation who have that identity also, then you are invited to let them know about that. That's one. Saturday is Families Together, which is basically a free babysitting evening for parents. RSVP or check in with me if you want more information or to let me know you're coming. And Friday is Sparks and Flames, which is an awesome social group for anyone in grades 5 through 8. We'll be having a game night with all the snacks you can ever imagine. Let me know if you have somebody who would like to join that. Thank you.
Good morning. About 5 years ago, I spoke about a character in a children's book called Strega Nona. I said she was the ultimate pastoral associate because she had a magic pasta pot. She fed the poor and ultimately the whole village. She was a good listener, and people sought her advice. Our work as pastoral associates cannot be done alone. We don't have a magic pasta pot, but we do have the WNC, the wider network of care. Folks in the congregation providing rides, meals, hospital visits, cards, they are our magic pot. The magic of human kindness, the magic of caring. Hopefully, many of you will consider being PAs this year or be added to the WNC. This is my third time signing up since 2009, and it has enriched my life and connections to folks immensely. Here are 3 quick examples of that. Being invited to Wentworth Douglas Hospital Cancer Center, where a church member surrounded by family, friends, and medical staff rang the bell, signaling to us all that he was cancer-free. Giving a prayer shawl to someone who has lost a spouse or a person who is seriously ill. Smiling whenever I called this person who was in rehab. Over months of recovery, I would ask, what can I bring? The answer was always the same: bananas and coconut dark chocolate kind bars. No matter what you do, I hope you will take some time to consider how all of us can take care of each other in our State Street village. You know, a lot of good things happen at South Church, and we celebrate. But let's also celebrate knowing we are a congregation that is there when things are not so good for folks. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Terry Karnan, and I want to tell you about being a pastoral associate. I joined South Church in 1983, so I guess that makes me an old timer. So this place is close to my heart, so I wanted to make a contribution, and that is why I became a pastoral associate for the second time. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the group and the experience. I don't think you'll find anywhere a more caring or committed group of people than the pastoral associates. Getting to know them and sharing joys and sorrows is really rewarding in itself. The conversation is often about matters of great concern to those involved and engenders a closeness among us. We support one another and often work in pairs. Here are some of my experiences. I took a meal to a fellow poet who was battling cancer. We had a delightful conversation. He was upbeat, and it was a pleasure to know he was continuing to write. We parted with a plan to meet for coffee. He emailed his appreciation for the food and the book of Mary Oliver poems I took him. Sadly, this was the last time I saw him, but I was grateful for the encounter. Then there was the afternoon spent with another associate unpacking possessions after a move for a parishioner who has some physical limitations. The drudgery of unpacking was lightened by the conversation and teamwork. We appreciated learning about our friend's special mementos, as well as admiring her upbeat adjustment to the major upheaval in her life. This past year, in particular, there have been a number of memorial services for long-term members. The associates provide ushering, a reception, and other tasks as needed. This is a large endeavor involving many people. It's heartening to see how everyone pitches in, even with cleaning up after the reception. The families are most appreciative, and I find taking concrete action helps to assuage grief. I hope this gives you a little bit of idea of what's involved in being a pastoral associate. The work is deeply meaningful, and the return for even simple acts is much greater than the effort involved. It's a wonderful way to enlarge your social network while providing a vital service for the support and growth of our church family. This is especially critical during these difficult times. Sarah Paretsky, a favorite author of mine, wrote recently, "Being connected to a community of helpers will get us through." So thank you, and I want to let you know that Carlo and I will be downstairs to answer any questions and sign you up. So thank you.
Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. What shall I do? Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do?
Good morning. We light our chalice today with words adapted from Audre Lorde. I speak for those who do not speak, for those who do not have a voice, because they were so terrified, because we are taught to respect fear more than ourselves. We've been taught that silence would save us, but it won't. I invite everyone to stand as you are willing and able to please join me in the reading of our mission statement here at South Church. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. Thank you. So in thinking about this week, I realized how often I actually forget that the March in Selma was just 5 years before I was born. Right? And most of those efforts are in the living memory of many of us in this room. But there turns out there can actually be a lot of reasons why things like this can be so easily forgotten. Take me as an example. Here I was, a white child, being raised in the Air Force. No, I did not serve, for those who ask later. I was raised in the Air Force. I was an unpaid dependent. But my father was a command officer, which meant essentially I needed for nothing, and what I may have wanted, was always attainable. Even if it did mean some work, there was never a question that I could be or have anything I wanted. And that was the context in which I learned about civil rights in our society. Racism was something I could have sympathy about and truly believed it was wrong, and given to believe that we had overcome government-supported racism and discrimination, because as a child in the service, we were reminded to ignore race. Everyone had a role. There was no color. We were all blue. Go Air Force. But everyone contributed, and the only distinction between anyone was the rank insignia on a uniform. But it was a subtle lie, and one that I did not start to see crumble until I was almost in high school. I started to see that there were a lot of people that did not share my lived experience. They did not share in my privilege. And slowly, and I'm often sad to say too slowly sometimes, I started to see through the illusion that we were in an equitable society, that there were still so many that by default were presumed to be less than. And yet, even when I could finally see the structural racism that is baked into our society, my privilege ensured that these harms were only an affront to my intellect and to my values. It was still too easy to set aside empathy. And thus, rarely did I truly feel the harm that our society can inflict, that other humans can so easily perpetuate, whether it's from ignorance or animus. We let ourselves believe that our country was finally moving towards inclusion because the end seemed so clear. Laws had been created to ensure rights, bodily autonomy, privacy, and freedom to love. The work was done. And that one no longer had to worry about harm until it came knocking at your door, because law, justice, and a higher moral code would keep us above harm. Boy, the privilege. See, the civil rights movement taught us a lot in how to work towards a better world. But we also, unfortunately, find it too easy to overlook what it also taught us about division and about how a society is fragile in the face of ignorance, greed, and blame, that what was earned can fracture just so easily. I knew when I started my transition that I would be giving up some privilege, but I still exist in a world with a considerable amount of it. And I can't help but realize that I'm still challenged to overlook this normalization bias that I hold that says it's going to get better. And try to believe that our world, and I can't believe that our world has started to become what it is today. The speed and viciousness of this new wave of animus to anything that is different from a very narrow ideal has been brutal. Now, most days, I find it nearly impossible to hold a vision for a better world. To see over 100 years of progress being thrown away with increasing velocity is painful in ways that words can't even begin to explain. And this resilience, the lie of a more perfect, I should say this lack of resilience, that the lie of a more perfect union put forth did not prepare me for now. And so I try to look for heroes, for examples, and I've learned to not look towards the great heroes of change, the ones we were taught in elementary school that have become the script of everything. Instead, I try to take lessons from people like Bayard Rustin. He was a key organizer for the 1963 March on Washington and a very close advisor to Dr. Martin Luther King, but who is still relegated to the back, his voice minimized only as a consigliere, so that his open homosexuality did not take away from the efforts of the civil rights movement. Or I look to Marsha P. Johnson and her partner Sylvia Rivera, both transgender women from the global majority, who not only organize to help protect transgender people in their community, but are often seen and held up as the spark that ignited the Stonewall riots and immediately after the beginning of Pride, which were marches in riot that we now tend to live in celebration. And yet, she and other transgender people who are becoming once again marginalized continue to be asked to step back in order to avoid distracting the right to protect gay rights, women's rights, human rights. See, these people and many others have become my heroes, and not so much because they helped change and set the direction of history, but because even as they lit these fires for change and helped fan them, their complete story was overlooked. It was minimized or told to step back so as not to impact the possibility of immediate gain. Yet somehow they kept going. These are my heroes. Thank you. I invite everyone to stand as you are willing and able and join us in hymn number 210 as we all wade into the water.
Trouble the water. It looks like the band that Moses led. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
We have a special guest, excuse me, telling a story today. So if any kids or anyone else would like to hear this special guest or see them from a little closer, then come right up here. Yeah, come on up. You can sit on the floor. So this is Julia, and Julia has been coming to South Church since she was about 6 years old. And just like those of you who are coming in now, she used to go downstairs for RE classes, and now she's a senior in high school. And our high school group meets in the afternoons in our other building. So she's been coming to RE since she was about 6 years old. And she's going to talk to us about an experience that she had in the high school youth group, because we learn about some really big topics in high school, and you all are practicing having big conversations and talking about the things that are important to us. And then when you're in high school, we actually have these big trips that we go on. So anyone who wants to can travel with us and go to places where some of the issues that we talk about are alive and present, and we can meet people who are experiencing the kinds of things we talk about. So as you listen to Julia, if you are not yet a senior in high school, then maybe think about, like, when you get to be that age, these are the types of experiences you can have, and also the kind of learning and understanding that comes from that.
I have only had a few moments in my life where I have felt that I have transformed, or started to see the world from a new perspective. One of those moments happened on a senior youth trip to Birmingham, Selma, and Montgomery, Alabama, where we learned about the horrific past of racism in America and how discrimination lives on today. Though I absorbed so much information on the trip, what has changed how I see the world is a conversation we had with Dr. Bernard Lafayette. Dr. Lafayette told us about his experiences during the civil rights movement. He grew up in segregation and knew he wanted to help change the nation. In college, he was roommates with John Lewis, and together, they began protesting for equal rights. Dr. Lafayette became an important part of the civil rights movement. He led lunch counter sit-ins, helped found the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, continued the Freedom Rides, and became an integral part of the Selma voting rights movement, which organized the Selma to Montgomery March across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, what became known as Bloody Sunday. Besides hearing about his role in the civil rights movement, Dr. Lafayette also told us about his relationship with Dr. Martin Luther King. They worked on many movements together, and Lafayette was with King hours before he was assassinated. Lafayette and King discussed their next project, the Poor People's Campaign, and King told Lafayette that their next step would be to take the nonviolent social justice movement internationally. Hearing a firsthand account from Dr. Lafayette about his own experiences and time with Dr. King changed my worldview. Until that trip, I saw the civil rights movement as something in the past, but hearing Dr. Lafayette's story showed me it is not as far away as I thought it was. Not only was the civil rights movement not that long ago, it also can't be learned about without the understanding that history is still a part of our world. This conversation changed the way I perceive history and the way I view modern society. I learned that we are history, and we have the power to choose our destiny with our actions in the present. When I feel despair with the state of our nation and the world, I remember this conversation and how Dr. King refused to stop his mission even in the face of immense opposition and threats of violence. From Dr. King, Dr. Lafayette, and the other passionate people we met on the trip, I saw that hope for the future can be found in our actions in the present. Even though it feels difficult, we can all be droplets of water in the river of change. Now I'd like to invite all the children downstairs for Ari.
So now is a moment in the service when I always like to be grateful for the many gifts of time and talent that are contributed by all of us who come here and are part of this larger family. But we also must take a moment to express our gratitude in the giving of our treasure to help support the work of this community and the larger world around us. And in recognition of the ongoing work of this community, we share our plate each month. And as part of Women's History Month, our collection this month is going to be shared with Women Aid of Greater Portsmouth. Founded in 2005, the mission of Women Aid of Greater Portsmouth is to provide short-term financial assistance to our neighbors in need when they have nowhere else to turn. Thank you, and may we please take up our morning offering.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
In this time of community reflection and prayer, I want to let you know that Julia O'Connell's partner, Mike Thompson, passed away unexpectedly on Monday night. Please hold Julia in your hearts as she navigates this profound loss. May our collective care surround her in the days ahead. And please always remember, if you are going through a difficult time or something has happened in your life and you need support, please reach out. I am here. Your pastoral associates are here. You can fill out a card that is in your pews. You can drop them on the front table or hand it to me on your way out, or just come find one of us. Let us now gather our hearts and minds in the spirit of reflection or meditation, taking in these words adapted from Adrienne Marie Brown and the lyrics of our opening hymn. God's gonna trouble the waters, we sang. When the water is troubled or troubling, sometimes we gotta wade in, moving with currents, learning to trust the river, to trust each other. We are adapting, shifting, flowing, our love like water. Form shifting power, river, vapor, life. As we witness troubled waters, may we let community come closer, remembering we were never meant to walk alone. We are each other's safety, roots intertwined. We can flood each other with belonging and keep each other's souls intact. God's gonna trouble the water sometimes. Let us build our stamina. May our attention and courage show us the next stand to take, the next hill on which to hold each other. May we know, may we hold on, may we believe something better is coming. God's gonna trouble those waters. May we wade in together, heart with heart, hand in hand, step by step, never forgetting the world of which we dream. Amen. As the music that follows begins, you are invited to simply listen and reflect, or to light a candle, a flame to symbolize the dreams you hold, the troubled waters in which you are wading, or any joy or sorrow that is resting on your heart today. May the light we've kindled and the music we have taken in stay with us. May we each carry with us the hope, the strength, and the deep belonging that we create together in community. I was at the gym, about to step onto the treadmill, when the person next to me gave me this look and then said hello in this way that seemed to say, "Hey, why aren't you saying hello to me?" Now, that wasn't something I was used to at that particular workout place. I was used to people just kind of minding their own business, but she seemed to mean business, so I said hi back in the nicest possible way. It wasn't until her friend on the other side saw me and said, "That's not who you think it is," that this woman looked at me again and said, "You're in the Tuesday morning class with us, right?" "Which class?" I asked. "The long and strong class," or maybe she said lean and mean, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, I told her I didn't go to it, although she looked skeptical until luckily her friend backed me up. Eventually, we sorted out this whole mistaken identity thing, after which I said to her, "It's true, I really should be wearing the same t-shirt a friend of mine has, which says, 'No, you don't know me from somewhere.'" That would avoid a lot of awkward interactions like that one. But as I went on with my workout, I started wondering about this other person wandering around the world looking just like me. Who is she? What is her life like? Would I be smarter or funnier if I was her? Would I be longer and stronger or leaner and meaner than I am now? Maybe this person has figured out things that I have not. Maybe, for example, they are clearer than I am about what on earth to do now. Things like, what do I protest? How do I protest? Who do I align with? Who should I call? What do I read? What do I not read? When do I engage? When do I rest? How do I stay engaged without burning out? How do I stay updated without getting cynical? What do I do when I feel overwhelmed and don't want to think about any of this for a little while? It seemed to me, as I reflected on all this, that this was all a lot clearer during the civil rights movement. March 7th was the 60th anniversary of the first march in Selma, Bloody Sunday, as Julia mentioned, a pivotal time in this country when people moved and marched and protested and seemed to know exactly what they were doing. Like the people that Julia mentioned, Dr. Abernathy, or John Lewis, or Dr. Martin Luther King, or those people on the bridge that you see on the cover of your order of service. Just check out the clarity and conviction in their eyes. The passion and commitment of those people and the countless scores lined up behind them is legendary. And I don't need to tell you that this moment feels different from that. A recent New York Times headline called the Democratic response scattered when one senator stood up by himself during the State of the Union speech to shout at Trump and was then roundly criticized by his own party. There is a, quote, lack of coordinated response, as one senator put it tactfully afterwards. That feels like me. I am personally lacking a coordinated response to what is happening right now. But then, when I take a closer look at that civil rights history, I realize even back then there were people, well-meaning people just like me, who were not so clear, were of different opinions about what to do, who were scattered or not fully aligned. Martin Luther King Jr. talked about them. He called them the white moderate. I first heard about this years ago when I first read King's letter from a Birmingham jail. He wrote it in 1963, right in the middle of this iconic movement for justice. Even as King was organizing and marching and risking and daring and, frankly, upsetting people around him, there were white people who said, "We agree with the end you seek, but not your means. You should be slower," they said, "more incremental, more moderate." King was very clear in this letter that these people were not helping. And for years, I have realized and struggled with the fact that King was talking about people like me. People who, from a very young age, were trained to be moderate, to take things slow, to trust the system, to not push too hard all at once, to wait for the right time, the right moment. And as I think about it, I wonder how much of those same patterns of behavior are still in my way now, in our way now. How much am I still stuck in ways of thinking based on systems that never really worked that well for anyone? Things have been vastly wrong for many people for a very long time. But much of the messaging I got growing up was just do what you need to do. There are ways, it seems to me, that we are all set up from a young age to acquiesce, align, do what we're told, just make it through, get through school, get to a job, just keep going. And I wonder how much of that individualistic, gradualistic training in moderation is getting in the way of a lot of good, well-meaning people thinking freshly, collectively, holistically, and in coordination now. How much of that is keeping well-meaning people stuck? Back in January, I watched a film called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. It's been out for a while. Many of you may have seen it. In one of the opening scenes, a main character, Evelyn, is sitting at a desk surrounded by chaotic mounds of paperwork everywhere. As she interacts with family and customers at the laundromat she runs, it is clear she feels overwhelmed and frustrated and unhappy and weary. Her husband, Waymond, comes across as people-pleasing, meek, and hapless. Their marriage is not thriving. And while Waymond is clearly well-meaning, he seems unable to do much of anything about it. They seem disillusioned, immobilized by their own lack of imagination, trapped by their own submission to their unhappy circumstances. They seem stuck. And while their situation felt extreme, watching them reminded of ways I feel constrained in my life, in well-worn patterns of submission to the idea that I can't change this or that or the other thing. Reminded me of ways I feel limited by my own lack of imagination, the ways that I feel stuck. But soon, this movie offers a glimpse that there is more to this couple's story, or could be. Evelyn discovers that her life could have taken countless different paths, each branching from a crucial moment earlier in her life. It's like there are other versions of these two running around the multiverse, some versions longer and stronger, some leaner and meaner, some just different. In one scene that has particularly stayed with me, Evelyn went back and made a choice for discipline and self-mastery, and we witness her, clear-eyed and poised, walking a red carpet at the height of a successful acting career. She spots Waymond across the room, who also made some different choices for himself. He's standing with grace, exuding quiet confidence, a gleam in his eye. The magnetism between them is unmistakable. To vastly oversimplify the plot of this movie, while they do not get together in this particular version of their lives, they and we, the viewer, are invited to reclaim more and more possibility with each exploration of an alternate life scenario. At one point, Evelyn is an opera singer, in another, a hibachi chef, in a third, she is a rock, literally a rock. These exercises of imagination invite vastly divergent and mind-opening ways of seeing and thinking and doing and being. But here's another piece of the film that has stayed with me. Connecting with these alternate life possibilities is not easy. In one frantic scene, we witness Evelyn in a pivotal moment. She's under attack and must choose whether to give in and give up or leap into something new. Stress, sweat, and tears mix because she cannot simply jump. She must first reckon with her own past. She must go back to try to grasp what she could not fully grasp before, to look back and try to understand what she had not completely understood before, to feel the weight of it, experience the regret of it. Only then could she move forward into something truly different. One thing that stood out to me in talking with the adults who went on the Selma trip 2 years ago was how hard it was to go and really look at what all happened, how troubling and how heavy and how hard. And they talked about how good it was, painful as it was, because it began to fill a blank spot, to heal a missing piece that for years they didn't know had been missing. And Julia, in my conversation with her, gave me permission to share on the youth trip every night. They would talk about what they witnessed that day, this country's difficult collective past. They would think together and reflect together, and they would cry together. So much crying, she told me. And they would also relax together and play together and laugh together. So much good being together. And everyone I spoke to who'd been to Selma told me they came back more aware, with more depth of understanding about what is happening today, and not incidentally, with deeper relationships with the people that they went with. And all moved to do something, even as they're still discerning exactly what that something might look like day by day. And that is the reality of where we are now. With King and others to inspire us, this modern situation is nevertheless new. Whatever scatteredness there may be, it is part of where we are. Whatever unhelpful habits or beliefs still live in and among the mix of everything, we get to acknowledge this is real. And we can be, in Adrienne Marie Brown's words, shape-shifting like water, adapting, flowing, power, river, vapor, life. We can build a new path with intention day by day, based on the wisdom of those who came before, based on the recognition that with one another we can do what we could not do alone, based on a growing understanding, but more importantly, emotional reckoning with our individual and collective past. We can wade in, resting when we need to, supporting each other as we can, acting when it is time to act, weaving these all together. I end with slightly adapted words from Julia McGeorge. We are history, and we have the power to choose our destiny with our actions in the present. Dr. King refused to stop his mission even in the face of immense opposition and threats of violence. Hope for the future can be found in our actions in the present. Even though it feels difficult, we can all be droplets of water in the river of change. May it be so. Amen. Let us join together for our closing hymn. It's number 157. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none.
It's time now to extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment, or the changes that have been brought about before it. These belong to you, and may they serve you well.
After our benediction and postlude, I invite you to greet one another, perhaps inquiring about your philosophy on shorts, or perhaps a takeaway from the sermon, or maybe just a handshake and hello. Go forth with open hearts and steady courage, trusting that even in uncertainty, we can choose our path. May we face the past with honesty, the present with intention, and the future with hope, and move forward together like water, adapting, flowing, and shaping the world with love. And may we remember we are history in motion, and our choices create what comes next. May it be so. Amen.